And there's a lot going on and a lot to talk about. We just finished up taping our Inside the 12 ESPN Big 12 title game program presented by Edward Jones. The title game is, not the program. And you can watch that on ESPN2 on Friday night, like around 8 or 9. And then it re-airs on ESPN2 on Saturday, leading up to the game. And then you'll be on like all the ESPN platforms. And then you can also watch it on, the Big 12's YouTube and on True TV, and then in your local Big 12 market. So we're going to be annoyingly everywhere, but that's pretty awesome because, man, the more and more I got ready for that show, and, we're already ready over here. Like, I got a real pulse on the Big 12, but this game is going to be unbelievable. Just on hype alone. Truth be told, I believe, and I said this on the show, and this is not a knock in any way, shape, or form on BYU's football program, but I don't think they can beat Texas Tech. And here's the reason why. I'm not sure that anybody can beat Texas Tech. Like, Ken, yes. Will is different. And again, I'm prisoner of Pete, right? Scotty likes to call me, and that's accurate for a lot of reasons. I definitely do get excited about what's going on in the moment. And when you look at this Texas Tech defense, it's hard to be like, I mean, I feel like we could be looking back in the middle of January or late January and being like, oh yeah, we should have seen that coming. Like, they've outscored their opponents on average this season 44-10. And they don't play, in the Sun Belt. Like, the Big 12 is a heavyweight conference. And the defense up front, like Romello Height, Jacob Rodriguez in the mix. I mean, these guys are they fly all over the place. They make plays. They're exciting. And on the other side of the ball, Baron Morton doesn't make many mistakes. Now, when you look at BYU, I feel, we talked to Kalani Sitake this morning, and obviously we'll get to that next. But when you look at BYU, I think having played Texas Tech once already and on the road is good. Another thing, too, I think that is effective for BYU is that when you play Texas Tech, that was on a huge stage. Like, so you shouldn't be too shocked by the bright lights in Arlington. That place is going to be jam-packed. The Big 12 Conference is so excited that these are the two teams that made it, as am I, because we want a festive, exciting experience. And this is going to be that. And, oh, by the way, the ramifications connected to this game are major when you look at the college football playoff. Again, I gave my opinion. I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not the kind of guy that sits here and is like, no way they'll lose. I don't know. Anything can happen. Well, I think Bear Bachmeier will really have to step up and I think flex a different muscle, and that muscle will have to be Aaron Roderick, BYU's offensive coordinator, is going to have to put him in a position where he can get rid of the ball quickly. And they have to get pacing and tempo going. And if they can do that, I think you can build confidence early, and I think sky's the limit. You can pull anything off. But I just think that this defense, having watched them like I watched them this year, and just you don't even have to do much. Just look at their schedule and look at the results of the games. It's easy to fall in love with this defensive front, and probably one of the best we've seen in a long time. As far as the team is concerned, Texas Tech's been in the Big 12 for 30 years, first title appearance. BYU's been in the Big 12 for 3 years. This is their first title appearance. BYU is on a heater like never before. And I know, I wasn't at the Holiday Bowl in 1984 when Robbie Bosco and Lavelle Edwards defeated Michigan to solidify a 1984 national championship for BYU. I do know that Kelani Sitake announcing that he's staying at BYU, right? So you basically just beat Penn State. I don't care what you say, you did, because Penn State wanted him real bad, okay? So you basically just beat Penn State. You have one of the best storylines in college football right now with Bear Bachmeier, and look, that game is going to be on noon on ABC on Championship Saturday. If there was ever an opportunity for this young man to have a coming out party and become a household name over the summer into next year, this is his opportunity. We saw a similar thing happen with Sam Levitt. I think this would even be more powerful because he's a true freshman, because his name is Bear Bachmeier and he wears 47 and he's playing for BYU, and the circumstances as to which he got named starting quarterback were a little clumsy. I think we can all agree on that. But there's just a lot to be excited about if you're a BYU Cougar fan. And let's start with Kalani Sitake staying. Talking to him this morning. So we have this, this show is a Big 12 show. So, we want to be careful with, I'm not looking to piss Kalani Sitake off. We're part of his conference. But also, you've got to ask him these questions, right? Otherwise, it doesn't behoove me as anybody who you guys want to respect. And I am not, trying to break news or, hold anybody's feet to the fire, but it's a fair question. Even if he hadn't taken the job yet, or I apologize, even if he hadn't extended yet, I still would have felt the need and have fought to ask him the question, hey, where's your head at with this going into the championship game? He, by the way, the exact opposite of Lane Kiffin, right? He was so transparent with us this morning that I didn't want that. I didn't look, I knew right away that this was becoming a distraction, and I wanted to put it to bed as soon as possible. And he also did convey to us that, look, man, this was a very real situation. He was close to going because there was so much interest from Penn State. But he didn't want to leave BYU. That's who he is. That's the best fit of all time for a college football coach right now, present day. So him staying there, but also and I'm not this isn't take a dump on Lane Kiffin, because Lane Kiffin did what he did, and he's not the first of his kind to do it. And it's not, again, I've said this a couple of times this week, the guy's not an axe murderer. Okay. By all accounts, he's a great dad and a really good guy. And, you talk to McShay is buddies with him. Todd McShay says, Lane is not this excitable, gregarious, guy that he is on social media when you talk to him in person. I do get the feeling that there is a bit of an alter ego for Lane Kiffin. And that's the villain. That's the football coach. That's the guy you see on Instagram. So to get that out of the way, but Lane Kiffin could not get out of his own way, right? When that scenario was playing out. And so now you have it. Kalani Sitake really had the opportunity to do the same type of BS, and he sidestepped it. Not only sidestepped it appropriately, the way that he handled the media talking about it the other day, but he sidestepped it as far as, okay, let's get to a result right away. And sure, he had help from the powers that be around BYU and the Crumble Cookie dude and all that stuff. But if you look at these two situations, you have a guy who just holds himself to a very high standard, and you have another guy who is just kind of, he's kind of all about that guy, who he is. He's about himself, which a lot of us are. Don't get me wrong. I can be super selfish as well, too. And I think when you're put in a situation where there's that much money and that much attention and that much power, I can't imagine the crazy challenges that are brought to you. And at the end of the day, too, Lane Kiffin did what he probably felt was best for his family and his ability to win a national championship. And I always go back to what Nick Saban said about Lane Kiffin's situation, that for Lane, having to really hustle in the transfer portal every year at Ole Miss is a huge pain in the ass, as opposed to going to a school like LSU, when a lot of times recruits, their parents, their representatives, whatever, are knocking on your door. And then you see, conversely, when you look at exactly how BYU is handling this, I don't know. I do know, because I look at the roster. There is not a huge, heavy portal situation going on at BYU. Do they mine the portal for great talent? Yes. Are they good at it? Yes. but it is not the kind of team that every year you have to recreate a roster and a lineup. Like, that's not what this program is, right? There's consistency there. And that consistency is one of the reasons that Kalani Sitake is 23-2 or 22-3 over the last 2 years headed into this title game. So his circumstances are different than Lane Kiffin in a sense that I think guys that go to BYU are going to go to BYU more often than not. Not all, but this is not an Ole Miss situation where every year you look at your roster and you say, okay, we got to go to the portal and create some magic. So happy that Sitake stayed. We got a special interview coming up right now. We have Cole Banker and Wesley Ruff. Now, Cole Banker is a sports guy in Lubbock, right, with the ABC affiliate there. Wesley Ruff, also a sports guy, but he's from Salt Lake City. We're efforting to bring them both back at the same time, and we'll have a little debate here. We'll see who's ready and who's going to win the Big 12 championship and why. We're going to talk to Cole and Wesley after this break. The Pete Souza Show is presented by Slovakia.